Hello, 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 hello. How are you guys doing tonight? Well, I know that you were hoping for another regular schedule during the day. I slept through the night because then it means I would be on a regular schedule vlog, but that's just not the case. It's 12:29 a.m. and I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to vlog and finish the John Wayne Gacy book. A week ahead this time, can I just tell you? So I usually, for the book club, I always wait till the last minute to read the book because, first of all, then it's fresh in my mind. But second of all, because I'm just lazy like that. So I always am like finishing it the night before or like even like the hour before. I'll call Mel and I'll be like, I have 20 minutes of this book that I have to finish. But this time I finished it a week in advance. And when I got it from my nap, I was actually on Amazon Prime. There's like several John Wayne Gacy movies. They're all of them horrible, can I just tell you? Well, actually, one of them's not bad, but it's not just about John Wayne Gacy. It's about all these serial killers, and it's like 6 hours and something. And each serial killer is an hour. So the first one was the BTK killer, which I want to watch that one too because we read the book about the BTK killer. And then the second one is John Wayne Gacy, and I think Dahmer is in there somewhere too, which I've actually read a lot about Jeffrey Dahmer previous to the book club. I was thinking today about how much fun it would be to do a year of true crime again next year, but we're trying to do different themes every year, so I don't think we'll probably do that. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm going to finish the book tonight, and then I am going to start Recursion by Blake Crouch, who wrote Dark Matter 2 years ago, I think, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. And it's kind of science fiction, but like in layman's terms. It was about these scientists that invented this box, and that when you went inside this box, like, it would put you in a different, like, it was like time travel, kind of, but like just different dimensions. And so, well, it wasn't time travel, it was just different dimensions of your life. And like every turn you took was a different dimension. It got so weird. But anyway, I loved it. I thought it was so well done. And he's the one that also wrote the book Wayward Pines that they ended up turning into a movie with Matt Dillon. I don't know if you ever saw that. Or not a movie, but a TV show with Matt Dillon. It was really good. But the first season was good. The second season was not so good. And then I think it was canceled. I remember watching that show. I don't know why this camera is driving me crazy tonight, but it keeps on like turning up. It doesn't really matter, does it? But I remember watching that show, and by like the 5th episode, I was getting so bored. If you've watched Wayward Pines, you'll know what I'm talking about. By like the 5th episode, I was getting really, really bored with it. And then all of a sudden, like I remember Matt Dillon. So the city had this wall around it, right? And you couldn't really figure out what was going on with the city. It was very Stepford Wives weirdness. It was very like, you could just tell something was off and he couldn't get out of this town. They weren't going to let him leave. So he crawls over this wall, and like I remember when he crawled over the wall, the whole like show changed for me. I was like, oh my god, this just got so good. But I feel like there are a lot of shows that have really good ideas. Like Wayward Pines was great. Under the Dome was really good. Alex and I watched that for a long time together. What was the show about the sisters that were witches? I don't know. Like, if you guys want to know how a show's going to get canceled, get me hooked on it. Because any show that I get hooked on gets canceled. True story. The Killing got canceled. That was so good. The Killing is still probably next to Roseanne and Lost. Like old school Roseanne. And Lost. I would say The Killing is probably my favorite show ever. Maybe over those two. And you can watch the whole thing on Netflix. It's fantastic. But anyway, let me fix this camera really quick. I can see that it's kind of like up. It's driving me nuts. There, that's better. So Peter, what did you do today? Thank you so much for asking. Well, I got up this morning and did my vlog because I slept through the night, whatever that means. But anyway, and then after I vlogged, I was going to go right back home, but I started listening to the John Wayne Gacy book, and then I just drove around and I listened to like an hour of it. And I'm like, I'm going to finish this on today. So I went home, and by the time I got home, I was so tired that I just like crashed and fell asleep. And Alex had gotten up to take the dogs out and give Pee-Pee his medicine, but then he went back to sleep, and we both of us slept in. And then we got up and we went to brunch, and our friends were there, and that we ran into like 2 weeks ago, and they were like, we purposely came in the same time because we thought you guys come the same time. And I'm like, yep, 2 to 2:30 every Sunday at Cafe Patio. And they're like, oh, we're so happy that we met you here. And so we sat down, and I was like, why didn't you just text us and you would have known what time we were coming? And they were like laughing and stuff. So anyway, we sat down and hung out with them, and ate brunch, and we had a good time. And then I wanted to read outside today, and Alex wanted to watch some movies, and he wanted to watch a bunch of movies that I don't want to watch, like some Marvel movie, and then he wanted to watch the live action Dumbo. So when Alex was growing up, kids in school would make fun of him and call him Dumbo because he had such big ears, and he would say, yeah, but I have my own movie. That's what he would say to them to get back to them. So he's always loved the movie Dumbo, so he was real excited to watch it. And so we watched that. And I drove around and listened to I didn't want him to have to just sit in bed all day long. So, I decided that I wasn't going to film videos today. I was like, you know what? It's the end of his weekend. It's the end of his birthday weekend. I want him to enjoy the weekend. So, I'm just going to let him hang out, and yeah, I'm not going to make videos today. So I drove around, I uploaded my vlog, and then that was it. I drove around and listened to the John Wayne Gacy book. Okay, so I listen to books at 2 times speed, right? Which means that if there's like 4 hours left in the book, I have 2 hours left, okay? Well, I had 2 hours left in the book at my time. Now, mind you, it's right in front of my face as I'm listening to it, okay? It's right there, how much time I have left. It's on my phone and everything. I was like, please do not let me break the straw of my Lakai bottle. I almost just, like, broke it with my hand. And so I was like, okay, I have 2 more hours left. Well, it was really 4 hours, but I had 2 hours left when I was, like, driving around. This is so stupid and silly, and really how I am. So I was really excited. Well, somewhere in my mind, that went to, like, as I was driving around just listening to it, I was like, okay, I was looking at the clock, and I was thinking, well, I have 2 hours, which is really just an hour, right? So I'll be done with this book by such and such time. It was like, I think 5 at that point or something. So I was like, by 6 o'clock, I'll be done with this book or something. I think it was maybe a little bit later than that, but you get the picture, right? So I was like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, so by 6 o'clock, I'll be done with this book. Did it just go out of focus? I hate when it does that. But I really had 2 hours in real time left, right? So I get to the end of the hour. I'm like looking, like I had in my head what time it would be done at. And I'm like right there, and it goes into the epilogue. And it goes into this Terry Sullivan, who is actually in this movie that I was watching tonight about John Wayne Gacy. Who he was assistant district attorney on the case. It goes into him telling about, now I have to tell you, this is I think I cried in I'll Be Gone in the Dark. Like, I'm a book crier. I cry when I read books, okay? But other than that, I don't know that I've ever cried in a true crime book. Maybe Columbine at some point, but I think maybe more from watching a documentary or something about it. So this year is January, February, March, I think our 6th book. January, February, March, April, May, June. So this is our 6th book. I should know that, right? Because it's the 6th month. This is our 6th book and the first book that I cried in. And I don't think that I cried really because of how sad and tragic the story is, which it totally is sad and tragic that he killed 33 men, young men. Some of them I think unidentified to this day. But what made me sad about it was at the end, he was talking about how they had all basically given up their families and their lives and everything for 2 years while working on this case. And they had all become so close, right? But that literally at the moment that they were in this bar, so they would go to this bar called Jean's, and they would like drink while they were waiting, like they would have a drink while they were waiting for the verdict to come out. Well, they had been there, and the jury hadn't even been out for 2 hours. They thought it was going to be like 3 or 4 days. The jury hadn't even been out for 2 hours, and this bell in the bar rang, and that meant that the jury was back in whenever a bell would ring. This bell would ring, and he's talking about his dad being there. And it's very personal when you're hearing the story to the district attorney and how the assistant district attorney and how he like was affected by this case. And then he goes in and he starts telling like what happened to these guys that worked on the case afterwards. And it's, first of all, the book really humanizes many of the victims, which I think is fantastic, because a lot of true crime books don't do that. And it really, really humanizes the investigators that worked on the case, and the homicide detectives and the police officers, and how it affected their lives, and how many of them didn't get to spend time with their family members and things, you know? And I just found myself like, I mean, not like bawling crazy, but I was like tearing up listening to it, you know? And, but anyway, I was like, oh, this has got to be almost done. Like, I'm right at the end, because he was like kind of whipping through the different investigators. And I looked at my thing and at my like my panel here, and it said like 1/04, and I was like, is there only a minute left of this book? And so I picked up my phone and I looked at it, and I was like, it said like a minute 4, and I was like, I have a minute and 4 seconds left, because usually on Audible, when you're at that part of the book, like that far in, it goes over the screen where you rate the book. I had an hour and 4 seconds left. I had done the math wrong in my head. For some reason, I had believed that I was 2 hours of real time was 1 hour of real time, because I had broken it down again. And this is not the first or the last time that I have done this. It's not the first time I've done it on a book, and it won't be the last time, that I thought I was almost done with the book, and I wasn't. So, you know, usually I don't care, but I have to say with this case, you know, it's weird reading true crime. Like, I want to know about the case, and it's interesting to me, and it's fascinating. And I looked up, I looked up the house that he lived in that was demolished, and I looked up some of the pictures, you know, of him. I didn't look up any victims' pictures, but I didn't see that there were any on there anyway. But anyway, I looked up to see what happened to his kids, because he had 2 kids. And but other than that, and then tonight when I was watching this documentary, well, the first one was so bad, it was like 22 minutes long, and I didn't even finish it. The other one was like more of like 48 hours kind of show. But I, like, by the end of a book, in this true crime book, I've really enjoyed reading it, but I'm kind of done and ready to move on to the next case. Like, it's almost too much, you know? And like, I think, like, if I was going to do, like, I don't think I could do like 3 months of John Wayne Gacy. Like, I don't really, to be honest with you, want to know about that much darkness. You know what I mean? And it's one thing reading about a lot of like, kind of like dark subject matter when it's different each time. Like, you know, we're going to read about the Zodiac Killer next. And I don't know really anything about the Zodiac Killer, except for that he's never been caught, and he sent notes to the police officers, or to the police station. That's like really all I know about it. And I think I saw the movie Zodiac years ago, but I don't remember really anything about it. I'm almost positive I saw the movie. But, so, you know, but other than that, like, I don't know a whole lot about it. But, like, okay, with, what do you call it? Ted Bundy. I never even finished those confession tapes on Netflix. I mean, I just couldn't even get through them. It just, by that point, when you've read that much about it, and you really kind of see it for what it is, how truly sad it is, and how truly sick they are, and you've read, and you've, like, heard people's, like, details, and, you know, you've read some articles, and you've read some threads, and you see, like, the victims' families and how they were affected by it. The story is interesting, you want to know about it, but when it's done, it's done. And, like, I don't ever again need to read anything about Ted Bundy, or I don't really care. Like, I'm not even going to watch the Zac Efron movie, in all honesty. I have no interest. I'm glad that I read the book. I'm glad that I know about him and that I can speak of it, but I'm done with Ted Bundy. And that was kind of the rest of it. Now, I will say the BTK killer, because I read that Carrie Rollins book, who is his daughter, I don't really know much about that, so I probably will watch the documentary. And then In Cold Blood, that's so dated that I don't have any desire to know any more about that whole situation. And that was enough for me. And the Columbine story. The Columbine book really screwed with me in a way that I didn't think it would. I don't know. It made me... It really made me look at my high school years differently, and it made me look at... It really made me look at our society, honestly, and how we handle situations and tragic events like this, you know, and how we respond to them. I would read more about Columbine. I wouldn't read more about the details of what happened, because I feel like after reading that book and seeing the interviews, which are all pretty consistent, I feel like I know the names, I know the backgrounds, I know all that. Like, I don't really feel like it's interesting when somebody the other day said something to me about it being the worst planned shooting in American history. I said something about having read the book, and they said, oh, it was the most tragic planned shooting in American history. And I said, yeah, that was one of the interesting things that I found out. Like, if you have a conversation with me and you're somebody that thinks you know a lot more than I do, and I know that I just read the book and I know more, I'm not going to fight you on it. You can be the expert. I don't really care. I'm 47 years old. I don't have that kind of fight in me anymore. I just really don't, you know? I have calmed down a lot in the last year. I'm just like, you want to win, you can win this argument. That's fine. You can have it. And I don't remember who this was, but they were like, oh, no. No, I said, oh, that was an interesting thing that I found out about reading the Columbine book and seeing some of the interviews, is that it actually wasn't a planned shooting. That they planned to, like, their focus was really on these bombs that they had created. And they had a diversion bomb in a park nearby that they wanted, it was going to send the police to that point of, like, distraction. And then they had these bombs that they set off, like, in a cafeteria, in, like, the entranceway, like, the stairway, underneath the library. The library was going to fall. Like, all this stuff, they had it all planned out. And that was where the majority of the people were going to die, which was something like 150 staff members and, I don't know, 1,500 students or 3,500 students or something ridiculous. I mean, it was, like, the majority of the school. And then the rest of them, as they ran out of the main entrance, because they couldn't get out of any other way, they were going to shoot them. Oh, no. This was not a bombing. I was like, I just wanted so bad to look at this person and be, who was it? I don't know why I can't remember who it was. I just want to look so bad at this person and be like, I just literally read a book and watched like 5 documentaries on it, and it all says the same thing. But I was like, you know what? I might be wrong about that. And they're like, yeah, I think you are. I'm like, okay. And I think that, you know, is an interesting example of what I'm talking about. Like, not that it makes it different, but it does to some degree. I mean, if you think about the fact that we could have had a mass school killing of that amount of students. I mean, it was already horrible what happened, right? But imagine on that level. And I almost kind of think that that's maybe the lesson that we need to take from a lot of this stuff, is not in how to treat, like, when you read these books, the investigators and detective stories are important. And the reason why they're important is because it's not just about the cases and how they solve them. It's about how they handle the victims and the victims' families. And somebody is texting me and I cannot see who it is. And it's about, you know, how we, you know, treat one another in those situations. And it is important, you know, like, I think I'll Be Gone in the Dark kind of set a precedent for me when I was reading it. And then the Paul Holes book, that's an Audible exclusive called Evil Has a Name. Like, that book is such a good example of how we should be reading true crime or writing true crime. Maybe. Because I think, and it was interesting because I was listening to something today and they were talking about true crime as a serious part of American history. And I had never thought of it that way before, I never thought of like true crime as being a part of American history, which it really is, I guess, and, because it kind of shapes certain parts of our society. And, so anyway, when where was I listening to that? It must have been in the book. I bet it was in the book that he said that in the book. Something about it being a part of American history. I don't know. But anyway, when I read the Paul Holes book. So, the Paul Holes book, so if you don't know who Paul Holes is, he was the lead investigator on the Golden State Killer case. And he retired the day before they caught him, literally hours before they caught the Golden State Killer. And his dream was to solve that case before he retired. So he's a huge part of the investigative story, right? Well, he and some other investigators came out and they wrote a follow-up book to Michelle McNamara's, because he and Michelle McNamara were like really, really close friends and worked on the case together. And so he came out with a book called Evil Has a Name, which is the Audible exclusive. And it has like the victim stories and it has the victim's family stories and it's their voices telling it. And to come from an investigator, that it's, their voices and he's the one that set it up like that, I think really sets precedence on how we should look at crime, and tragic crime like that in our society, and always remembering the victim. And I think that that's one thing for me that has resonated through reading all of these books, or that I always look for when I'm reading these books. Like, where is the victim in this book? Are we giving more, are we paying homage more to the killer or to the victim? And because there's a way to do both. There's a way to pay homage to the victim, not to do both, but there's a way to pay homage to the victim and the victim's families and the investigators and how it affected their lives, while at the same time still detailing the life of the serial killer without making that serial killer a movie star, if that makes sense. Like, or, famous. Like, which they are famous because of what they did, but it's all in how we look at it and how we depict it. And I think that that's important. And I think, this year we've read a little bit of both. Starting the year off reading, the Ted Bundy book, which was, written by Anne Rule, who was his close friend at parts of his life, was interesting because I think she saw it for what it was. I would say at the beginning of the book, she didn't. Like, she was very, and I think over time, like looking back on that book, I have a different feeling about it now than I did then. But over time, her opinion, her thought process kind of changed about him, and I think she saw it for what it was. And I think that was an important part of the book, that at first she didn't see it because they were too close of friends. The BTK killer, Carrie Rollins, she's too close to the case. She couldn't see it for what it was. And that book was all about, how she was affected as his daughter. It was, that book was a lot for me to read. So, and Truman Capote's was completely just, factual. So, I can't believe it's at 23 and a half minutes, so it's going to stop. I will be back. I'm going to pull into the gas station up here so I can see who's texting me, and I'll be back. Okay. You guys are probably like, Peter, we do not come over here for true crime discussions every night. Tanya just read me this, meme that she found. That was not Tanya, but earlier, before I started vlogging, she read me this meme, and it said... friend, like those memes where it has people talking, and it was friend. So let me tell you about this thing, and this is truly what it was. It was about Ted Bundy, and it was let me tell you what I just read about Ted Bundy. And then it said me, and it said I really don't care, or something like that. Can we talk about something else this time? And then it said friend. Okay, but did you know that Ted Bundy killed anyway, I was like, girl. She's like, let me read this to you. It's so funny. I go, funny for you, haha, not funny for me. Anyway. I'm kind of excited to have a week where I'm not reading true crime, honestly. But I do have to say this. So I went to, when I was listening to my audiobook today and driving around drinking the rest of my coffee from a brunch, I drove to Books A Million, which I've never been to Books A Million before. Well, I'll tell you my day and then I'll tell you about Books A Million. So, got home. What did we do? Oh, Sarah stopped by. So, Sarah is wanting to... Sarah might be our neighbor. She might buy a condo in our neighborhood, and there's one for sale 2 down from us. But she went and looked at it, and she said it's too big for her and stuff like that. So anyway, some of the condos, like in our condo in our neighborhood is like the smallest unit. There are some condos in our neighborhood, and there's only 60 units in the entire neighborhood, if that. I think there's 60 units total. Some of the condos in our neighborhood are like freestanding houses and they have like 5 bedrooms and stuff. That was really weird how the road did that. Like, it was like this thing to get onto the road, and then it was like, but it had like, you know, that sound that makes it, it's like all along the white line. I've never seen it like that before. That's weird. Anyway, so she came over, and she and Alex went to the open house, and then they came back, and then it was like thunderstorming, and then her mom came over, and her mom was at the open house. She like texted her and said, I'm here. So Sarah walked down, and they looked at it, and then they came back over. She brought her dog, Callie. And then we kind of hung out and just like talked, all of us, for a while. And then, yeah. And then they left, and Alex was working on the invitation for his mom's party. And that was when I went and drove around, listened to my audiobook for a little bit, and I went to Books A Million. Now, I had never been to Books A Million before. I thought I had heard of it, but I didn't know that it was actually like a bookstore. I thought it was like online, like thrift books. And so anyway, it's really kind of like a Barnes & Noble, but I will say this. It's more like gift stuff. Like, they have a lot of like journals and bookmarks and crystals and t-shirts and mugs, and it's like a gift shop with books. And the books are really unorganized, but the people were 100 times friendlier than they are at Barnes & Noble, so I don't know. I actually did a video for my BookTube channel. I filmed myself in there because I'm trying to do videos like when I go to a new bookstore. I'm trying to get my first reaction to the bookstore. And, you know, there's a lot of people that can't travel that are on BookTube or that watch BookTube videos, and they don't get to go to other bookstores other than their own town. And so I try to show that because I know people are interested in bookstores, you know. And it's kind of a fun, easy video to do. So I'm going to put that up tomorrow. Yeah. And then I drove around, and that's when I thought I only had an hour left, but I actually had 2 hours left. So now I'm down to, I have a half an hour left of my vlog, or of John Wayne Gacy book. So I'm going to get off here in just a little bit and listen to it. I'm not going to vlog forever tonight because I want to get the book done. I want it done, and I want to be able to say that I can move on. And I also want to read this Recursion book by Blake Crouch and finish it by the end of this week. Ideally, if I could finish it and On the Come Up by July 1st, I would love it. And then my physical copy books that I'm reading, I still have to read my 2 James Patterson books. I'm about a third of the way through the quickie. And tomorrow my plan is to just sit down and like finish it tomorrow. These James Patterson books are really easy to finish. Mel said that she finished them both in like a day and a half, if that. And so if you didn't know, on my BookTube channel, I'm doing like a read-along, read-a-thon, like ongoing about James Patterson books. And I'm just picking 2 standalones every month because they're really easy to read. And I'm actually really enjoying the quickie. It's not that bad. I mean, it's kind of cheesy written, but the story is interesting. So, and I've got to pick out 2 for next month. But those are the ones that I've got to read those, and then I want to read this book called Witch's Sister, and which was this series that I read when I was a kid, but I want to read the whole series this summer. And yeah, that's about it. I need to get back to the Harry Potter books next month. I need to read The Order of the Phoenix next month. I was like thinking about this tonight. I was like, you know, I need to get up every day and like figure out like like, I have like a list of what I want my day to look like, but I don't have a schedule of like, okay, get up at this time, have this, like, it's like, you know, tomorrow, like, I know I have my, like, training, so I have to get up to go to my training, and then come home, and I have a sobriety commitment early evening tomorrow, and then, different stuff, so, trying to figure out, I was talking to my dad today, trying to figure out a day to go to lunch for my birthday, and, because our weekend is so crazy next weekend, and he was like, I want to see you, kiddo, so we're going to do lunch. Probably Alex and I, my dad and my stepmom, so it'll probably be next Sunday, so we probably won't do Patio next Sunday. I mean, they would go to Patio if we wanted to, but we'll probably go somewhere else. We usually go to, they really like that Seasons 52 restaurant, so we'll do that. They used to go to Cheesecake Factory a lot, but they don't do that as much anymore. They don't really go out to eat. My dad, both my dad and my stepmom really like to cook a lot, and like when I was growing up and I would be out there, like, they made pretty intense meals. My dad likes to grill, so as soon as, like, it's grilling season, well, even into, like, the late fall, he's grilling. He loves to grill. Loves to grill. And they have, like, this ginormous grill in their patio. I can remember when I was, like, in high school, and I would have, like, my friends over to go swimming and stuff like that, or go out in the boat, and my dad would be like, hey, he was like, I'm gonna go get some steaks at the grocery store, who wants steaks? And we'd all be like, we do. And my dad would put, like, these big juicy steaks, you know, on the grill, and then we'd all sit out there, my dad, my stepmom, my friends, and I, and we'd all sit out there. They have, like, this, well, they don't have the same table anymore, but they had this big table on their patio, so, like, their house has, like, a patio that overlooks the pool, that overlooks the lake, and so we would all sit on the table, you know, with our hair wet just from the pool. We would jump in and out and stuff like that. And my dad would blast music from the stereo through the windows, and that was before, you know, people had, like, the built-in stereo speakers, like, you know, in the walls and stuff like that. But it was fun. We used to have so much fun out there, and in the summers. Alex and I actually do lunch with my dad and my stepmom, I would say pretty often. But my dad was saying that it's really hard for them to go because of Pickles, the dog. I guess they don't leave Pickles alone a whole lot. I don't know. Pickles is so cute. So Pickles is their new dog. If you have watched my vlog for a while, you'll know that when I was talking about my dad having, like, when their last dog passed away, they were, like, pretty distraught. My stepmom was, but my dad was, like, really distraught, and he really wouldn't talk a whole lot about it. And I was like, Dad, you need to get another dog. And he was like, I don't even know how long I'm going to be here. Okay, my dad is going to live to be, like, 105, honest to God. And I was like, I mean, my dad's pretty healthy, and his family, all of them, lived to be really old. Like, his uncle lived to be 90-something, is my dad's oldest brother, and all of his other, my dad's the youngest, and he's 79, and all of his other siblings are still alive. He's the youngest of 5. My grandma died at 93, and my grandfather died at 74 of a massive heart attack, but he ate, like, horribly, and, 74 is still, like, pretty old for just having a massive heart attack. And so anyway, he's like, yeah, I don't know that I want to get another dog. I mean, I will, you know, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. My dad's just, he's always, like, so kind of, like, morbidly cynical about things. He was like, I mean, I could go in 3 years. I'm like, then that's 3 years that you had a dog. So they got another Yorkie, and his name is Pickles, and he's real cute. And his body's kind of short, and his legs are real long. And he looks like, you know when you see, like a baby lamb, or, like, yeah, like a baby lamb that has, like, real long legs and it hasn't grown into its body yet? That's how Pickles looks. But I don't know that Pickles is ever going to change. Like, I think Pickles is just going to look like that. And he's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. And, so they have all these little baby toys all over the house. It's kind of sad, though, you know, like, I go out there and I think to myself, there's been so many dogs at this house that they've had, you know, and the very first dog they ever had was my dog. It was an Airedale named Clifford. And ever since Clifford, they've had just, you know, they've always had 2 dogs at the same time. And there's Pickles out there that's never known that another dog has ever lived out there before, you know? And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sad as you get older and you think about that kind of stuff. I think it makes my dad sad too. My dad's always been a dog person. He has had dogs his entire life. He and his friend, they used to rescue stray dogs in their neighborhood. This was when my dad was like 5, 6, 7. They would rescue stray dogs and they would keep it in this like barn or garage or whatever, like off the house, and they would nurse them back to health. Like they would wash them and then they would, like, you know, feed them and take good care of them, and until they got them back into good health. This is in the 40s, you guys, okay? 40s, early 50s. And then my dad and his friend would find homes for them in the neighborhood. Can you believe that? My dad is crazy about animals. Like, my stepmom and I think I just talked about this on here not too long ago, that when we go on vacations, like my dad, like we went to St. Martin one time, and he took all of these rolls of film, and when we got back, literally almost all of them were lizards. He just followed this lizard. And I call, like, Mrs. Birdie, and, like, you know, my dad, I get that from my dad, okay? So, if you've never heard the Mrs. Ducky story, I've told the Mrs. Ducky story on here about my dad a couple times, but, so my dad would call this lizard Mr. Lizard, or, you know, whatever, on the beach, and he would follow him around. He thought it was the same lizard the whole week, who knows, but my dad had a duck at his house, okay, that would swim in the pool, and so he thought she was gonna have babies, and so he went and bought a baby crib, okay, you guys, and so he had this baby crib next to the pool that he cut this thing out of, and then he made like a door that she could go into, and then it had this area that she could build her nest underneath, okay, so that she, like, things couldn't fly and get it. But then he built like a little ramp, not a ramp, but like a slide that went into the pool, okay? This was Mrs. Ducky's, and then he would get in the pool and swim with Mrs. Ducky and stuff, and he would sit up on, like, the balcony and look down at her, and he would just, like, take picture after picture after picture after picture of Mrs. Ducky. And he had, like, some of them he blew up and has them framed. Like, he loved Mrs. Ducky so much. He was obsessed with her. It's the sweetest thing. I mean, my dad is, like, really, really good with animals, and he can literally sit outside. They have tons of, like, bird feeders. And my dad loves to just sit out there and watch, like, the, what are they called? The hummingbirds. He loves to watch. He'll be like if you're talking and, like, one comes up, he'll be like, shh. And he's got his, you know, bifocals, like, down on his nose. And he'll be like, shh, look. He'll be like, look at their wings, how fast they go. My dad at 79 years old, 79 this month, or in the summer, but 79 years old, 78, 79 years old, still notices the smallest things. He and my mother were very, very similar in that way. They didn't get along, and I wouldn't even say they were friendly towards each other towards the end. I would say they always respected each other, which is, you know, kind of interesting, but they always respected each other. They just didn't like each other at the end, the last 20 years or whatever, but, always noticed the smallest details and things, both my mother and father. And I think that is probably one of the inherited traits I received. And I don't know if it was a learned behavior or not, but I'm going to break the straw on this thing. I can already tell. I'm afraid. But, can you just list in the comment section below where you buy these replacement straws for things like this, so that I know to go get them, because I should just have some on hand for when I break them. Because now, all of my different bottles use these. But, yeah, they always, both of them, notice the smallest details of things. So it was a good day. It was a good relaxing Sundays. I love Sundays. I love just, you know, reading and listening to books and sleeping in, and I got them laughing so hard because I was like, Boo Radley is so scared of Sarah's dog when she comes over. And Sarah's dog is what are those dogs that, like, make a lot of noises? They're like, you know, they look, a pug. It's a pug. And it's so cute, and it's so well behaved. And it's the same age as Boo and Tucker. And it comes in, and she and Pee-Pee play, and, I mean, she's just a really well-behaved dog. Sarah takes her with her everywhere. So Boo Radley, of course, freaks out, because Boo Radley can't even handle, you know, anything. The wind blows, and he comes inside freaking out. Anyway, so he was, like, hanging out really close to my leg. I was sitting at the computer, and he just kind of like kept on sitting right there, like watching everything, like he didn't know what was going on. So finally I picked him up, and he literally had like his like claws like in me, and I was like, Boo Radley. And so I was doing this voice, and Sarah's mom was like, okay, I think I'm gonna leave. And I go, what do you think, Boo Radley? And he goes, yep, I think it's time for you to leave. I don't know these ladies. I think it's time for these ladies to leave now. Nice ladies, but I don't know ya. And Sarah got laughing so hard. I was like, okay, bye. It was nice meeting you, ladies. You ladies can leave now. Okay, now, bye. You can take that dog with you, too. I don't know that dog. Y'all can leave. Bye. I think it's time for you to go. Somebody said in my vlog one time that when I do like the voices of the dogs, it's really how I feel inside. But I didn't want them to leave. We were having so much fun, so that was not me doing those voices. Like, I was having a good time. I love when people just stop by. It rarely happens at our house that people stop by to hang out, so. But I do think that Sarah's mom wants her to buy a condo in our neighborhood just as much as we do, because Sarah's mom literally lives a block and a half away from us, so it would be great. I think it would be fun to have her there. Dream. Well, we put the cushions out on the patio, and now it's literally rained almost every day, and so they're soaking wet, and I have them off the couch and on the side so they can drain out. And like today I was gonna go and buy some plants, and I thought, what's the point? I can't even enjoy the patio because it's so soaking wet out there all the time that you can't sit on the couch. So if I go to sit outside, I just go sit out in the front. I should never have even bought new patio furniture. We have these two huge, well, I didn't this year, but last year we did. I have these two huge chairs that are like folding chairs. They were like $30 each. That's what we sit on out there because they dry off like that quick. Drives me crazy. Like, this has been the coolest, wettest summer that we have had in a long time in Indiana. Like, I don't remember it being like this before. It's bizarre. Oh well. Oh well. I was telling our friends today, my friend asked me at brunch, she's like, do you still have that thing? I can still hear that you're talking around it. And I said, yeah. She goes, man, I've had canker sores like that will not go away. And I go, well, I don't know that that's what it is. And she goes, you need to get, and somebody in the vlog mentioned this. She was like, you need to call your doctor and have them call you in, Mary's Magic Potion or something. Like, I don't know what this stuff is, Mary's Magic something. And then they were going on and on and on about it, both of them. They were like, yeah, you got to have this, and you got to have, have your doctor call it in. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what this Mary's Magic. She's like, I'm telling you, it's not going to get any better. And her husband was like, put some hydrogen peroxide on a, what do you call it, on a, like, cotton ball, and that'll help. And she goes, no, you need Mary's Magic Potion. They kept on going on. I go, okay, I'm going to get some Mary's Magic Potion. I probably won't. I can't imagine calling my doctor and being like, can I have some Mary's Magic Potion for this canker sore in my mouth? Well, for us to call you in something, you'll have to come in for us to see you first, $300. Okay, now I think I'm good. Don't you hate that with doctors when they make you go in there just to see them and tell you that you get, so you can get an antibiotic and it's $300? Ridic. My mom used to say that all the time, ridic. She wouldn't say ridiculous, she'd say ridic. I can't believe that it's almost July and I haven't even been to the pool yet. I'm going to the pool sometime this week because I'm going to say I went in June. What happens is June and half of July I don't go to the pool, and then halfway through July I start feeling like I'm going to miss out on going to the pool the whole summer, so I start going all the time, right? but I haven't been up there once. And then I'll buy plants in September or in August, and from the patio, make the patio real nice, and only have 2 weeks out there and be like, well, I wish I had sat out here the whole summer. But whatever. The mistake I made, I still need to get on Wayfair and see how expensive it is, but I need to just have patio furniture covers. That's what we need to buy. And actually, Alex's Uncle Ed made a really good suggestion to us. He said, I don't usually ever go this way, just FYI. He said, you need to get one of those like plastic crates, like, you know, that you have on your patio that you can put stuff in. He goes, just keep the crate out there, and then when you take the patio cover, the chairs off, just put them in there during the day when you're using them, and then at night, every night, put them on, and then if it rains, it rains, and then you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, you know, that's actually a good idea. I spend enough money on other junk that I need to just do that and buy those, you know? I should have just bought it last year, but I really didn't, because I'm sure, like, with that, you know, patio chair furniture setup, that there's some kind of, like, cover that you can buy with it, but I honestly just didn't even think it would be an issue. I really, really didn't. I'm just going to get on there tomorrow, and I'm going to buy it and stop complaining about it. It's like windy outside tonight. 70 degrees and windy. And don't call me windy. I can't believe it's my birthday week. I'm going to be 47 years old on Saturday. It doesn't really make me sad, and I don't really necessarily feel old. I mean, I joke on my videos and I say I'm the old man of YouTube, but I don't really feel that old, you know? I just don't, in all honesty. It's weird, I remember talking to my mom. She was probably a couple years older than me. Well, she would have had to have been, because she got sober at 51, and it would have been after that. But I can remember, like, talking to my mom about getting older, and she would say, you know, it's weird, because, like, you wake up one day and you look at your hands and you look at your face and you realize that, like, time has caught up with you. And she was like, but in your head, you know, nothing really changes. It stopped. She's like, but in your head, nothing really changes. She was like, yeah, I mean, some things, you know, you think differently about, you know, but, like, the day-to-day in and out, she was like, she goes, Peter, honestly, it's like, you could wake up and I could be saying to you, hey, Peter, your friend's here to pick you up for school, and it would literally feel like a dream that had gone by. And she was like, it's weird. And, you know, now that I'm, like, almost at that age, it's true. It really is true. That some things, when you think about them, seem like they were 30 years ago. And other things, and like when I say 30 years, like, that sounds like a really long time, but 30 years ago, I was going into my senior year in high school. In my head, that doesn't seem like that long ago. Like, it really doesn't. Like, I have pretty vivid memories of being a senior in high school, like, very vivid memories. I have, like, when I talk about my first boyfriend, you know, we dated at, well, I started dating him when I was 22 years old. So, like, after I'd gotten sober, well, 23 years old. So that was, you know, 24 years ago. Like, it doesn't seem like that was that long ago in my head. Now, some things seem like that long ago, like vacations that we took with my dad and my stepmom. Like, that seems like a long time ago. But the other things don't. You know, when I went to go visit my friends in Seymour, and then we went to our friend's funeral, like, it seemed literally like I had just been down there for weekends with my ex. But then when I think about being with my ex, like, that feels like a long time ago. You know, I was looking at Alex at his birthday dinner, and, you know, Alex was 24 when I started dating him, and I was 36, and now Alex is 35. I mean, he's a year away from what I was when I met him, and when my mom passed away. You know, and it just seems like, look, with my mom having been gone, like, it seems like a really long time some days, and other days it seems like it was yesterday. But I would say most times now it seems like it was a really long time ago. And I don't know, getting older is weird. It's, when you put it all into perspective, like, the least of it to me is how I physically look. Like, really, like, I know a lot of people get caught up with that, like, they really do, and I understand that, and, you know, I say this all the time, like, I think there's this total double standard in our society about men and women and lookism and things like that. I really do. I think that there is this, like, this force of nature that women have to keep up with how they look and things like that, and that there's an expectation, which is sad to me. But, you know, like, when I look at all of the things to me that are hard about getting older, aging is like the least of it. Like, looking older, I mean, you know, like, that's like the least of it. Not knowing how much time I have left, like, that's really hard. But then, you know, like, I think about, like, Alex's friend that passed away in a car accident, you know? He didn't know that his, you know, he wasn't going to be here another year from now. And he lived his life fully. You know, he lived his life the way that he wanted to live his life, because, I mean, he traveled a lot, and he, you know, took, you know, healthy risks, and he did things in life because that was how he chose to live his life. And I think if I took anything from his life, that's what I would take, you know, like, do it now because you don't know how much time you have limited. I mean, I honestly think that if he was, you know, sitting here and I said, hey, Jason, like, you know, looking back, what do you think? You know, he'd say, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to still be, oh, like, leaned on my horn. Don't get me wrong, I would love to still be there. I wasn't ready to go, but I had a good life. I really think he would say that. I mean, he was always doing fun and exciting things, you know? And you don't have to do that. But I think to get up every day and ask yourself, am I content with where my life is now? And if not, what would I want to have in my life? And what do I need to do to achieve that, you know? You know, I always ask myself with certain things in my life, like, how would I feel if I was, like, on my last day and I hadn't done this and I hadn't achieved, like, that's why it was so important for me to write a book. And I think that's why I've been so lazy since I wrote it, because it wasn't about getting the book published. It wasn't about writing 10 books. It was about writing one book and saying that I'd actually written it. And I think that once I accomplished that, I was kind of like, okay, on to the next dream. And I want to write more books, don't get me wrong, and I'm in the process of doing that. But at the same time, it was like, okay, bucket list, crossed it off. Because I knew that in my life, if it was my last years and I looked back in my life and I had never written a book, I would not have been okay with myself. I just wouldn't have, you know? That I really wanted to, you know, write a book in my life. By the way, I don't know who you are and what your name is, I don't remember, but Sarah's mom has a friend who was at her wedding that Alex met, and she said she watches my vlog every day. And she came up in conversation today because Sarah's mom was asking about, do I still do this vlog? And she's like, oh, my friend said that she watches your vlog every morning, like, while she's putting on your makeup. So if you're out there, thank you. Hello, thank you for watching my vlog every day. I love that you guys, like, clean the house and, you know, drive and listen to a podcast. The fact that so many people are equating this to a podcast right now, I don't know why that makes me so happy, but I love it. And I just love getting on here and talking, and the fact that you guys want to listen to it just means the world to me. So I really appreciate it. I'm going to get off here now. I'm going to finish the John Wayne Gacy book. And so if you're in the book club, get ready, because I am ready to go this time. I have all my facts and all my T's crossed and my I's dotted on John Wayne Gacy, and I am ready to discuss the case and the book, Killer Clown. And if you haven't read it yet, it's short. You still have time to read it. The audiobook was 14 hours, and it was a fast read. I could have finished it in half the time that I did. I just was lazy. But anyway, the live stream will be next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and as of right now, it'll be on YouNow. Mel and I are discussing whether or not we're going to put it on YouTube. I think we actually are putting up a poll on the Goodreads book club to decide where we're going to have it. So, anyway, yeah, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope you are having an amazing Monday, an amazing beginning to your week, unless you have other plans. But don't. Enjoy your day. It's not a dress rehearsal, you know? We're not here forever. And, If nobody else told you this today, I love you, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.